That's right. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. Welcome back to, the Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn is back. It's for our season 6 finale episode. It's been a minute since me and Kyle, unfortunately, have been able to sit down. So let's welcome back to the show, or to his show. Okay, kind of. Kyle, how you doing, man?
Doing good, buddy. Wish we've been doing this weekly for a little bit longer, but what are you gonna do? Birds took a fat L, and that sucked. But gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, and I remember one of our last things we said to each other on that infamous day was, and this is actually a good segue to our first topic, it was there's really no way that either one of us could envision that they weren't going to advance into the second round based just purely on how beat up San Francisco was in that defense. But the Eagles told us to hold their beer because they had something for us. So let's get into the game. And I know I'm going to probably reopen some old wounds here, but Kyle, do you feel a little bit used by the Eagles in this situation because the offense really just never, ever evolved?
I don't know about used. I guess you might have to elaborate on that a little bit. Let down. Yeah. I would say I don't know. Cause look, I think we all agreed that if there was going to be any reason that the Eagles were sitting at home after the first round or after the second round or whatever, not going to the Super Bowl, it was going to be because of the offense. Granted, defense had a few hiccups in that game in particular, but the offense put up 19 points against a walking corpse of the San Francisco 49ers defense. And so I don't know about used necessarily, but, disappointed, resigned, kind of like a sigh and almost a little bit of relief. Because if we're being honest, that offense was like pulling teeth watching every single week. It was just torture. So a little bit relieved that it's over.
Now, Kyle, that game, even though it was a torturous game to watch, the Eagles did have a chance there at the end. But I'm going to go through that last sequence, the last play of the year, essentially. Mm-hmm. So the Eagles take a timeout. It's going to set up a 4th down and 11, I believe. And they go over to the sidelines and the brain trust over there. And I remember seeing this live. I'll never forget this. There was one person talking. It was Kevin Patullo. Jalen Hurts was looking at the head coach, and Nick Sirianni was looking at Jalen Hurts. And then the end state of all that was a expression from Nick Sirianni like this. Now, when Jalen Hurts was running back onto the field, Kyle, I ain't gonna lie to you, I had a little bit of doom and gloom feeling. What did you, before the play actually happened, how were you feeling during that exchange?
Oh, well, the game was over in my mind. If you're telling me this Eagles offense has to draw up a 4th and 11 play to save their lives, that's it. You might as well just bury yourselves. Now, in terms of the exchange on the sideline, I don't know. I didn't read as much into that as a lot of people did. I know everyone was like, Jalen Hurts looked disgusted with the play call. You don't even know that that's what necessarily they were talking about. You don't know what was being said, what the reaction was, what led to whatever it was that he did or how he looked. So I don't know. I will say, because I know everybody made this out to be like, oh, look how stupid Kevin Patullo is. Even Jalen Hurts knows it. If you go back to one of the greatest moments in Eagles history, the Philly special, and the mic'd up, you saw Nick Foles run up to Doug Peterson and suggest a play. He said, you want Philly? And Doug's like, you know what? Yeah, because he trusted his quarterback. His quarterback saw something he liked, and he asked the coach and broached it with his coach to run it. Jalen Hurts can do that. He's capable of doing that. And I'm not saying, this is all Jalen's fault. He has to call his own plays, stuff like that. But if we're pretending like this is a situation where Kevin Patullo just calls the plays and Jalen just goes out and runs it, no questions asked, we're all in la-la land. Of course the quarterback has input in the offense. The offense is built around the quarterback. Jalen could have went up there, and Nick Foles even said this after the fact on his podcast. This is the part where you have to have conversations. Coach, player, coordinator. What do you like? What are you seeing? And talk about that and run it. So I don't know. It was the whole operation was a mess. It was a mess from the jump, and it was a mess when it ended. I guess I just didn't read as much into that exchange or that moment as a lot of other people did.
Nick also said that every quarterback has that play that's always stashed away in the back of their head that when the chips are down, they want to run in a situation like that. You're right. And that's a very good point. And I know that you're right. It shouldn't be a one-way conversation between offensive coordinator and quarterback, and you go execute. But it seems kind of like that's sort of what Jalen Hurts is. He doesn't seem very creative. He doesn't seem very, and I want to say this correctly. I don't want to, get the Jalen apostles all over me. He doesn't seem very quarterback football inclined in terms of he does those X's and O's in his own head. And this is the basis of this. Well, he's never had the same coordinator, and he's struggled because of that. You're right. I think there's a certain element of his game that Jalen does need a strong coordinator, obviously, to try to guide him through some of these things. But is that what we're talking about for an elite quarterback? That character trait to lack?
Yeah, no, it's not. That's not the character trait of an elite quarterback. Something tells me that throwing it into triple coverage on 4th and 11 wasn't the play that they drew up, or the play that Jalen wanted, or the play that Kevin Patullo wanted. I don't know. I think just that is just a snapshot, a microcosm of the entire operation all season. Like I think it was reported by Jeff McClain that a lot of times when Kellen Moore was the coordinator, he sort of coached through Jalen. And when Kevin Patullo, Jalen sort of overpowered him. And I think that just, that being there in the background can just lead to a lot of discrepancies between what either guy wants to run. And it just, it played itself out, fleshed out on the field to where the entire operation was not smooth. It didn't look like there was any plan. There was no sequencing. There was no rhyme or reason for anything they were doing. And Patullo said they were just running just to run sometimes. It was a disaster. The whole thing was a disaster.
Yeah, it was 23-19 was your final score, and the Eagles were done. That was it. Adios. See you later. Close the books on 2025. The Birds Blast stat pack for this game. The Eagles were an impressive 2 for 3 in the red zone in this game. Really that was a very good stat for them all year. Very surprisingly that they were such a competent team in the red zone all season, but they did. They were 13 first half points, but here we go. 6 second half points. Where have you not heard that before? They committed 7 penalties for 48 yards, which the yardage is not that bad, but the amount of penalties, again, a problem all damn year long with these penalties. And I have lost Kyle Quinn. I'll continue on with the Birds stat pack, though. Well, Kyle hopefully will get back in. So 7 for 48 with the penalties. They forced 2 turnovers. They committed none. They got to Purdy. Hurts got sacked once for 1 yard. Purdy got sacked once for 5 yards. Well, there you are, Kyle. Let's go back to what you missed. So the Eagles did force 2 turnovers in this game. Kyle, the Eagles won the turnover battle but lost the football game. That's a new one for me.
Well, it's funny and it's almost poetic that it happened in that way, because this whole nonsense or this mantra that the Eagles had, that you win the turnover battle, you win the football game. How about you score points? Score more than the other team. That's the number one indicator. Like teams I'll give you this. Sirianni can put up all the stupid stats about teams' records when they win the turnover battle all they want. I'll tell you this. You know what the record is when teams score more points than the other team? Undefeated.
Yeah.
Undefeated.
Yes, they are undefeated.
Go score points. Like, yeah. I mean, my goodness. So, like, I find it poetic and almost like, it's almost like poetic justice in a way for people like me and you who sat here and said, like, a turnover be damned. Throw a pick. Yeah. Take chances. Go score. And we come out on top there, Matt. We come out on top.
Of course we do. Yeah, I know. The Eagles did not commit any turnovers, but they still lost. Jalen got sacked once for 1 yard. They got to Purdy once for 5 yards, and 3 for a very uncharacteristic. 5 times they went for it on 4th down in this game. Uncharacteristic for the 2025 season, and they converted it 3 times. All that equal to a 23-19 Eagles loss. Well, me and you both had the Eagles in this game, Kyle Quinn. We obviously both lost. So we're 0-1 in the playoffs. Let me see. Let me remember, who do we have? I had Cooper DeJean as my game MVP, and you had Saquon. CMC?
Got to admit, barely remember the game.
Yeah, me too. But I do remember CMC, he threw for a touchdown, and he also caught a touchdown?
Maybe, yeah. That sounds about right.
We'll go with CMC. All right. So, anyway, that was it. The rest of the offseason is or the rest of the postseason is played out. We do have a new Super Bowl champion. The Seattle Seahawks defeated the Patriots on Sunday. The Eagles, obviously, dynasty now will be put on hold. Let's cut right to the Eagles postseason, because before they could turn the lights off at Lincoln Financial Field, they decided to relieve Kevin Patullo of his duties as a offensive coordinator, which then began a 3.5-week process of, as the world turns with this football team. Leaks, rumors, drama coming out of that locker room. This guy doesn't want to come here because of Jeff Stoutland. This guy doesn't want to come here because of Jalen Hurts, all kinds of stuff, Kyle. And then they finally settled on Sean Mannion. Before we get into Jeff Stoutland, Kyle Quinn, do you believe that the Eagles only offered the job to Sean Mannion?
No, I don't think he was the only one. I don't know. It's a hard thing to say because you don't know how far along in the process they were with a lot of these guys. I would phrase it this way. I don't think Mannion was the first person they wanted to offer the job to.
Okay. That's
I just
fair.
don't know if they ever ended up getting a chance to do that with others.
Now, with all that drama, and I don't want to recap it, we're both very well aware of what it was. Do you think where there's smoke, there's fire with some NFL insiders when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles? Do you think there is a situation that's existing around the NFL that people don't want to come here for X, Y, and Z purposes? And are those reasons Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts?
No, so I don't even think you really need to follow reporting or hear from anybody. All you need to do is just see what happened. I mean, it was difficult for them to find an offensive coordinator, I think, for a lot of reasons, right? I mean, one, the quarterback, two, the coach. They probably work more in tandem than anything when it comes to that. Like, you have to answer to Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts in a way. You have to run an offense like that, or you get a chance to install an entirely new offense, and then it's a matter of, do I get to bring in my own staff, or do I have to keep Kevin Patullo? Do I have to keep Jeff Stoutland? Honestly, a lot of it is like, why not just make me the head coach, right? If you're going to get a guy who's like experienced, Brian Dable, Mike McDaniel, stuff like that. But then there's the element to the roster question marks. Is A.J. Brown going to be back? Landon Dickerson now, which I'm sure we'll get to all that stuff. But it's a lot in flux there. And I think, because there were a lot of openings and there were a lot of head coach openings as well, the Eagles ended up sort of being on the bottom tier in terms of the most attractive jobs. I actually even think in some way, some guys who were sitting out the cycle or sitting out the Eagles job are thinking to themselves, well, the head coach might be out of there in a year. So why would I want to be his OC when the next head coach is going to want to bring in his entirely new staff, and then I'm going to be out of a job again anyway? Or I can wait, Sirianni to be out there, and then I can interview for head coach. So I think there's a lot of that stuff that goes into that, and why the Eagles job wasn't viewed as like one of the most attractive jobs this year.
But then we get the announcement that there's a bombshell coming. That's something that's going to take our attention off of the offensive coordinator problems, and another issue is going to arise, and everybody went to Vic Fangio's possible retirement, which I still have not heard a confirmed statement from the Philadelphia Eagles stating that he's coming back. I still haven't seen that. Maybe you have. I have not. But then Jeff Stoutland resigns. Stout out. I'm out of here. Puts out a nice little note on the old Google machine there, thanking the city of Philadelphia, not mentioning the Eagles, not mentioning the head coach, the quarterback, the owner, Howie, Big Dom, nobody. I'm out of here, man. Thank you. You made me one of your own, and I'm history. I don't know if this constitutes a bombshell, but it sure as hell did come right out of left field. Am I supposed to think, Kyle Quinn, that the Eagles are putting the failures of the 2025 offensive season on the shoulders of Kevin Patullo and Jeff Stoutland?
No. So I think those are different things. Patullo was, in a way, scapegoated, demoted, whatever you want to say. They did that. I think that was more of like, let's appease the fans, and everyone wants a pound of flesh after something like that happens. And he's the easiest one to move off of. The Stoutland thing was interesting because if you follow the reporting there, this was something that I think was blooming earlier in the season than we might have thought. Now, the report said that around week 6, Sirianni and Patullo sort of they snatched the offense out of Jeff Stoutland's grip, demoted him from run game coordinator, while he demoted himself because Sirianni and Patullo had convened and intervened in the running game without consulting Jeff Stoutland to a degree in which he found acceptable. And I can understand that, being, as respected and as acclaimed and highly accomplished as Jeff Stoutland is. So it was a little bit messy there, it seemed. And the reason that he put the tweet out was so that he could jump the Eagles and sort of let everyone know, hey, like, I'm not on the same page as these guys. The Eagles, apparently, according to reports, wanted to keep him as the O-line coach. He said, I'm out. So I think they're a little bit, they're separate here. Patullo was like, we have to do something. He's easy. And Stoutland was like, yeah, F this. Like, you guys did me dirty.
Now, the week 6 reports that's when that responsibility was taken from him. First of all, they did a great job in season to kind of keep that down, because I don't remember hearing anything about that then. But
yep.
Do you think this also had something to do with maybe? Do you think it's separate also from the fact that maybe Sean Mannion wanted his own run game coordinator / offensive line coach, or does this maybe line up more with that situation?
So it could, but I do believe that Mannion wanted to retain Stoutland as the offensive line coach. Run game coordinator might be a little bit different, right? Because that like Stoutland, and I don't know this to be true, because Stoutland has been through 3 different regimes here, which means changing how he does the run game multiple times, more under center, or in this offense, or RPO for that offense, right? So I don't know if this is necessarily a thing where they're looking at Stoutland and saying, well, he doesn't fit my system. Stoutland's the kind of guy that can fit any system. But I do think they wanted to keep him as the offensive line coach, but maybe they were, maybe the run game coordinator part was more in flux, I guess, is my read on it.
Well, either way, Jeff Stoutland's out. Kevin Patullo, by the way, just recently hired as the passing game coordinator of the Miami Dolphins. Good luck down there in South Florida. You can say what you want about Patullo. I mean, we don't know. We don't really know what was the limitations out. I mean, I still think there was a lot to do with Jalen Hurts, and I think that heavy is the head that wears the crown until you have to deal with Jalen Hurts.
Yep.
And I don't know if Sean Mannion is going to find better success. The run game is going to return. Let's talk about some of the 23 incoming free agents this season, as well as some other issues along that vaunted offensive line. You allude to it a bit a second ago. Landon Dickerson, Lane Johnson, each reportedly are flirting with retirement potentially. I know recently something came out about Lane staying, but I get it. The offensive line was banged up all year, and the development of some of those backups never occurred in 25, and there was no depth there. But not being able to, if Lane Johnson removes himself from the equation, that's going to spell disaster for this group, temporarily. And if you factor that in with Landon Dickerson stepping out, Kyle, this offensive line goes from the penthouse to the you-know-what in a very short period of time.
Yeah, and I mean, this season they definitely weren't the penthouse; they were the doghouse for sure.
Yeah,
and they weren't a very good offensive line, especially with Lane being in and out, Landon being hurt, Cam not being as good and hurt as well. I mean, yeah, sure, if both those guys leave, it's going to be tough, and especially when you don't have Stoutland University, a guy who can cook up a rugby player and turn him into one of the best left tackles in football. So it's tough. I mean, the whole offensive line, I mean, just as a unit, is going to take a hit. It does seem like I'm with you. I'm following the reporting and the rumors and the talk that Lane Johnson's going to be back, and I have him penciled in, I guess, for now, as he's coming back. Landon, I don't know. And I mean, he had a weird, ominous quote at the end of the season about, I don't know if I'll ever return to full health. And he was a guy coming out of college that had a deep injury history. And he was always the kind of guy that in the back of your head, you're like, he could have a pretty short career, Landon. So that one, I'm keeping an eye on the Landon thing. And then Lane, maybe one more year. I'm not sure, but one more year, and could give them an opportunity or, time, I should say, to find his replacement and bring him along. Maybe Lane helps you find his replacement like Jason Kelsey did. I don't know, but better to have Lane in the building next year than to not.
What about Vic Fangio? Do you think he's back?
I do. And of course, I'll sort of always be on the edge of my seat there until I see him at the podium, or when the Eagles have to announce their full staff soon, that he's going to be back. But it does sound like he's going to be back. And, if you're just reading the tea leaves with with what happened with the Browns there, it feels like everybody knows or is on notice that this is Fangio's last season, including Jim Schwartz, who bowed out of the Browns job and then bowed out of any sort of coaching job in this offseason. He's eyeing up that DC job for the Eagles next season. So you can almost pretty much lock that one in. I don't know if anyone's ever been more of our defensive coordinator before they're our defensive coordinator than Jim Schwartz right now, except maybe going back to Vic Fangio when it should have been him when Gannon left. And, so I don't know, but it's a funny situation. It just looks like the way everybody's operating right now, the Eagles and the rest of the league, they're all operating as though Vic Fangio is going to be here for another season.
No, it seems to me that troubled waters are approaching for the Eagles. If it not be in 26, it'll be in 27. And I don't know if the team, especially because you're right, Lane Johnson, he's a game changer. He's a Hall of Famer. He's one of the best at his position all time. You're not going to replace that. You're just not. It doesn't happen like that.
Yep.
You're going to get somebody in there that's going to do a decent enough job, but he's going to do his job, not Lane Johnson's job. So there's going to be a change there. Then you factor in the defensive coordinator. Yeah, if he comes back this year, great, but he's not long for the world either. So there's some troubled rapids coming down here for the Eagles pretty soon. And these are not the type of stories that I want to be dealing with when we're talking about a perennial Super Bowl champion who has those aspirations of a dynasty and all that. And again, I'm not blaming Howie Roseman for Vic Fangio wanting to retire. But I am blaming Howie Roseman for not having an adequate replacement for Lane Johnson in the building right now, ready to go. There is something to that, and I want to go to Howie right now. Mm-hmm. How much do you put on the Eagles' disappointment in 2025 on Howie?
In terms of like the pie of the blame, why the season went wrong?
Yeah, I mean, was this team prepared with the roster? Was this the best roster that Howie could have put together?
In terms of what they were working with last offseason, it's probably pretty close to, if not. Yeah.
But don't forget, they let 7 players walk away who were contributors from the Super Bowl season. I know for certain reasons, but the reason why they had to is because of Howie's finances, the way he runs the money here.
Yeah.
Sometimes when the can gets down to a certain point in the road, you got to kick people out. Mm-hmm. Was that and I said this, I think I said it to you all season. I thought heading into this season, with a dynasty on the line, that this was maybe not the right way to run an off season. And, maybe that was the way, but offensive line, not enough depth behind the line. You blaming Howie on the drafting or you blaming Stoutland on the development?
Sure. I mean, I think both of them deserve blame for that. Sure.
Okay. Lack of depth up front on the defensive side. The edge rusher position, Campbell kind of fit in a little bit, so the offenses figured him out. They brought in Jalen Phillips, who kind of like stabilized that position, but he was nothing overworldly. How do you blame the defensive line? Yeah. Lack of good free agent signing or lack of drafting?
I mean, look, if you want to talk about players on the roster and positions not being good enough, yeah, of course, you point to the general manager directly for all that stuff. I mean, you just do. But I can't name another general manager in the league right now that to start this that I would trust more to fix this.
Oh my God.
Would you?
It's Howie Roseman Pledge of Allegiance. Good God. Man.
Yeah. Because I can't understand you. First of all, let's address you, by the way. Your guy, Adam Peters, up in Washington. What a disaster he was. That dude sucks. He sucks, Matt. Can you name a better general manager in the league than Howie right now? He made a decision. No, I'm answering the question, Senator. He made a decision to sprinkle veterans in with the young players. Didn't work. Mm-hmm. Okay. It was bad. It was dumb.
I would say the best GM in football is the Seattle Seahawks for taking a chance on a 3-year Sam Darnold contract. Yep. You're damn right.
You know what, Matt? He's the only one that I will give you. That's up in Howie's tier.
Thank you.
Only one.
Okay. Who's the CB2 for the Philadelphia Eagles?
Cooper DeJean.
No, he's the slot guy. Who's CB2?
He's the second best cornerback on the team.
No. I'm talking the position. Who's playing opposite Quinn Mitchell?
The offseason hasn't even started.
I understand it, but we had that same question the last offseason. It was never addressed. It was never addressed.
I don't know who that's going to be on the team next year. I don't know.
Okay, but it wasn't addressed this past year. Safety wasn't addressed.
Sure it was. No, hold on.
It was inadequately addressed. Okay, it was addressed. Inadequately addressed.
No. Adoree was fine by the end of the year. He was fine. He was perfectly
No,
good.
he wasn't. You know
yes,
he
was.
No, he was
Matt,
not.
yes, he was.
He was not
Well,
fine.
yes, he
You
was.
know he was
When's
not.
the last
But
time
Adoree
you
Jackson's not
remember
the
Adoree making
future in that position.
Dude, Adoree was perfectly fine by the end of the year. He got better
So,
and better. He was
Adoree
fine.
Jackson was a fine replacement to Darius Slay of 2024.
He was by the end of the season. Yes, he was at the least of their problems.
Okay.
He was.
You know what? I will give you that because things
Quinn
did
Young
sort
got
of settle down.
more than Adoree did. By DeMarcus
Yeah, got picked on
freaking
that
Robinson.
final game. Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, Jesus.
That's right. So Howie drafted wrong with Quinyon Mitchell because he got tore apart in the San Francisco 49er playoff game.
You want to die on that hill that Quinyon was a bad pick? Get real. Grow up.
Listen, you're not going to. He can't walk. Howie is culpable. He cannot walk away from the
reason.
But
what are you going to do? What's the point of? What's even
fire
the point?
him? You fire him.
Oh yeah, for who, Matt?
I don't know.
Like, who's the next moron that you're going to back up? Like Adam Peters.
Man,
look, he's going to go somewhere and stink.
I love hitting that nerve. Here's the thing: how long does Howie have?
For as long as he wants.
Okay, so you're telling me Howie has, in your opinion, a lifetime contract to figure out the Eagles based on 2 Super Bowl championships and what 3 appearances?
Yep.
Okay. How long does Nick have?
Maybe a year.
But listen, so Nick gets fired after saying that. Well, yeah, he's getting fired next year. Say he gets fired next year. Howie's going to bring in another Nick, right? He's going to bring in someone that doesn't challenge.
You mean another coach that went to 2 Super Bowls and won one?
Okay, but then why are we firing a guy 2 years after a Super Bowl championship?
Well, because that's what. First of all, the Eagles are pioneers. Okay.
Yeah, they are. You're right.
Yep. When everyone else zigs, we zag, baby.
Oh yes, they do. Yep. Howie's playing chess, or someone's playing checkers. He's playing chess. I get you.
Let me ask you this: the quarterback that you so badly want out of here. You know who's the only general manager in football that would have the stones to do it? You know who's the only general manager in football that had the stones to draft his replacement while he's still here under contract for 3 more years? That's your boy, Howie Roseman.
How do you know that? He hasn't done that yet.
Because he's literally that. How do you think Jalen got his job?
Well, no, that's a different situation. Carson was done. You knew Carson.
Not at all, actually. In fact, it's almost exactly the same.
Well, okay, now that's a good point. If the Eagles do find themselves in a position and do you think they're going to take a quarterback in a higher spot in the draft?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, if not this year, the next year for sure. Yeah.
All right. I mean, okay. All right. So you're going to die on the Howie Roseman hill. So Howie has a lifetime.
It would be stupid not to.
Did we win it? Did we win the Super Bowl this year, Kyle?
No.
Okay. Well, do we have an opportunity to start a dynasty here?
You act like it's see.
Oh my God! You answer the question. Yes or no? Do we have a chance to start a dynasty?
Yes, and we still do.
No, we don't. No, there's no dynasty anymore. No, there's not. No.
What are you? So you're telling me? Hold on. If you win 3 Super Bowls out of 4 years, is that a dynasty? Okay, they won 1. Don't win 1 this year. If they won the next 2, dynasty.
Okay, so they got to win 2 more
to do this, Matt. They still
could have repeated this year and been a dynasty.
Matt, they still have a chance to be a dynasty.
Yeah. Again, this is where we haven't done this. We have not done this all season.
What are you talking
Waiting
about?
for the final episode.
That's not the bar. That's not the bar. It's not
the bar's not being a dynasty.
Matt, the Chiefs.
The bar is not going out and winning championships.
The Chiefs missed the playoffs. What should they do?
They got to get some weapons for Pat Mahomes.
Okay, right, but not get rid of the GM, not get rid of Pat, get rid of Andy,
because we're already in the Kansas City dynasty. They've already proven their point.
Okay, but they're a failure. They're a total failure.
100%. Everyone was a failure with the Seahawks.
They should fire their general manager.
Did I say they should fire Howie?
Yes.
I'm asking you what you think.
Fire him. And I quote.
That was facetious because we're having a dialogue. I asked you. How long does Howie have, in your opinion?
As long as he wants.
Okay. That's amazing. But Nick's got a year. Jalen's got a year. Yep. Everyone else around Howie's got a year.
Yep.
Right?
Because you know who won a Super Bowl without Nick and without Jalen? Howie Roseman.
But you know who's also been part of some interesting disasters and collapses? Don't forget Howie, with all the... We're going to laud him for the Super Bowls. You also got to look at him for those 2 collapses in 23 and 25.
And you know who's never, ever been a part of a Super Bowl before Howie Roseman got here? The Eagles. Every coach we've ever had.
Well, you mean going to a Super Bowl or winning one?
Well, the proof is in the pudding. Winning one. Okay. And winning a Super Bowl.
He's also he's got the most losses as an Eagle GM in the Super Bowl too.
Don't care. Don't care. That means you're getting to a Super Bowl. What are you talking about?
Oh, but winning. But you just said winning was the important thing there. When I said
because you're talking about his collapses, where
right,
there have been collapses before Howie. There will be collapses after Howie. You know what there wasn't before Howie? Super Bowl championships. You know what there were with Howie? 2.
Hashtag fire Howie Roseman. All right.
Yep. Hashtag hire Adam Peters. You dope.
I'd bring Peters.
I won't let you live that down.
In a second,
I'm not going to let you live that down. How about that?
All right, it ain't over for them out there.
Yeah, I'm sure you would, and we would suffer for it. He stinks. He's a bum.
Okay. Sometimes you can't talk to the deranged. Sometimes the deranged, you got to let them go and just let them find their safe spot.
I do it weekly with you.
All right, listen, Kyle. We're going to get to this part of the show where we're going to reveal how we did back in August, September, whenever that was. We picked our first place, last place per division, conference championship, wild card, Super Bowl teams, and Super Bowl champion. And the results are absolutely shocking. I'm going to jump right into it. I'm going to start with Kyle Quinn. Kyle was 3 for 8 picking first place team. So 3 out of his 8 choices won first place in their division in the NFL. He was also 3 for 8 picking last place teams. So a little consistency there. Where he struggles is coming up here. 1 for 6 in his wild card predictions in 2025. 0 for 4 in his championship game opponents or participants. 0 for 2 in his Super Bowl. And he was 0 for 1 in predicting the Super Bowl champion. You had the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. So just a snapshot. Kyle had Buffalo winning the AFC East, Baltimore in the AFC North, Houston in the AFC South, Kansas City in the West, San Fran in the NFC West, Carolina, which you hit. Kyle, I'm going to give you respect and mad respect on that one. Pulling Carolina out your ass in September, and they did it, even though they were 8-9, but still, and it was a weird, funky way how they won the division. But congratulations. You get extra credit for that one, Kyle.
Well, thank you. I mean, look, somebody had to win the NFC South, so.
But that was probably the most unlikely. You had Green Bay winning the NFC North, and of course, you were right about the Eagles winning the NFC South. Wild card, Kyle Quinn was the Chargers, Broncos, Patriots, Lions, Buccaneers, and Commanders. So you had a smattering of teams that ended up winning their division, making it to the playoffs, but just not as wild card teams. Your NFC, your championship game in the AFC was Kansas City versus Buffalo, and in the NFC was Philadelphia versus San Francisco. And your Super Bowl was Buffalo and the Eagles, with the Eagles winning. All for a tune of 7 for 29 for 24.1% effective. Kyle, before I reveal my numbers, obviously this season was a mad pattery, of a type of season in the NFL. Was this a glitch in the matrix, or is this what we're going to expect to see in parity for the future of this league?
Yeah, it's a good question. It was a really weird year. Is it a one-off, or is this the new norm? I think it's probably more of, well, I don't know. I guess, are you talking more about Seattle, New England, or are we talking like about the team? Like, the reason it was weird is because Chiefs were out. Ravens were out. There was no Bengals. There was the Lions that missed, right? Like, a lot of the teams that have been mainstays at the top of the league were not. And that almost opened the door for the other teams. I think you see some of those teams bounce back. Baltimore and Kansas City, I think, definitely bounce back. But, some of these teams look like they might just be up and coming. The Pats have a young quarterback. You like them in the future. You like the Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams combination. That one I think is here to stay. But I do think some of the teams that missed uncharacteristically will be back. So sort of do a little bit of a glitch, but I do think we're starting to see the tide turn a little bit.
All right, now my turn. I was 0 for 8 in picking first place teams. I didn't get one right, but I was 7 for 8 for picking last place teams. Wow. So I missed only one.
Your bad teams. Yep.
Yeah, I know my bad teams. 2 for 6 in the wild card, 1 for 4 championship games, 0 for 2 in the Super Bowl, and 0 for 1 as my Super Bowl champion. 10 for 29 for a whopping 34.4%. So I've redeemed myself and returned into the winner's circle in 2025 as I win this year's battle. I had Buffalo winning the AFC East, Baltimore in the AFC Central or North, Texas, the Texans out there in the South, Kansas City in the West. I had the Commanders winning the NFC East, the Lions winning the NFC North, and the Bears coming in last. Atlanta taking the South, the Rams taking the West. My wild cards were Miami, Cincinnati, the Chargers, the Eagles, the Cowboys, and Green Bay. Championship games was Detroit and LA. So I had one of those right. And then Kansas City and Buffalo. Buffalo and Detroit was my Super Bowl with Buffalo winning. So, yeah, 10 for 29. So I win. But absolutely terrible. We didn't know what the hell we're talking about.
Tough year. I will say, I had Eagles-Niners just a few rounds too early.
Yes, you did. You did. I gave you the extra credit for the Panthers. I'm not giving you that. All right, Kyle, real quick, let's wrap things up here on the program. I want to thank before we're going to do one last segment, and then I'm going to say goodbye. But 23 incoming free agents. You got decent 8 picks in the draft. You got a schedule, and real quick, I'll put that schedule up here, right here. This is your schedule for 2026. Nothing given in the NFL anymore. Nothing taken away. What is Kyle Quinn's offseason plan for the Philadelphia Eagles?
You know, it's tough, man. It's go a lot of different ways. This is, and you're not going to like this, but this is going to be a year where they have to find themselves. It'll look deep within. They're going to find out what Jalen Hurts' role in this thing is, what Sirianni's role in this thing is. They're going to find out a lot about themselves. And I don't have them penciled in as Super Bowl contenders for now. Right? We'll see what happens. A lot can change over the offseason. By the way, can I drop a Vic Fangio take in here for you?
Yeah.
If you're half in, you're half out, just get out. Just get out. Let's start this thing. Like, what are we going to do? Are we going to draft players on defense that fit Vic Fangio's scheme for him to be here for one more year? Or are we going to start, can we reset this clock? Because let's be honest about this offense next season, whether it's because we have a new play caller or the quarterback can't run it or whatever. It's not going to be a Super Bowl offense. It's not a Super Bowl ready offense next season. So what's the point of going all in with this year with Vic Fangio? I think this is a reset season, and it should start with the defensive coordinator. Just start the clock over, get a new DC in here, and start building this way. So you have your staff set on both sides of the ball. So I guess to answer your question, wrap it up in a nice little bow, a little bit of a transition here for the Birds, a little bit.
Does the head coach survive it?
No, I don't think he does.
Are they setting him up for failure, you think?
Well, so they put him in a bad spot because everything underneath him is shifting seismically. And he's like, I mean, think about it. All of his staff's out of here. The guys that they're bringing in are Mannion staff. And then so then it leads you to like, what's the point of Nick Sirianni? He's the only guy that's like a part of the old guard in terms of what kind of offense they want to run. All these new guys they brought in fit the type of offense Mannion wants to run, or Mannion should be running, that coaching tree. Sirianni's the odd man out here. And I think there's a few different ways it could go. Obviously, if they have a lot of success, then he gets to stay, most likely. But there's also the little caveat of, what if the offense looks great with Sean Mannion calling plays? Are they going to let this young prodigy walk out the door for another team? Or are they going to look at Nick Sirianni and be like, sorry, dude, this guy's the next hot thing, and we can't let him leave. He's the next head coach. So it doesn't feel like there's too many avenues for Nick Sirianni to come out well on this. No,
there isn't. And yeah, you're right. And it does seem a little, as you say, it does seem a little transition-y right now. And perhaps it's the optics of firing a head coach 1 year after winning a Super Bowl that the Eagles wanted to avoid. And that's why Sirianni's back. I would imagine maybe that's a little window dressing there. But I agree with you. I think that the head coach is a dead man walking, and anything short of winning a Super Bowl next year probably costs him his job. But you know what, Kyle? That's going to wrap us up. And I want to thank you. Season 6 of the Birds Blast. And whatever we did this show, we've done it now for 6 seasons in different names, different formats, but it's always been this type of show. I want to thank you for another great year. And yes, I am here to confirm that Kyle Quinn has stated he will return for season 7 of the Birds Blast, which will return on Thursday, April the 30th. In our part of our off-season wrap-up program, we'll talk free agency and the draft, and then we'll come back sometime in late or early September and get the and get the season rolling. So I want to thank you again, Kyle, for another great year of your time and effort. And we still made the playoffs every year but one since we've done this show. So I want to thank you for a great year.
All right, I appreciate you having me on as always, Matt. Looking forward to scheduling this stuff with you over the off season, and see which way this thing goes. It's football off season is fun, especially when you end a season badly the way you do. The off season becomes a little bit more intriguing. Last year, they won the Super Bowl, but it's almost like that's the pinnacle, right? Like I think we're gonna have a fun off season. It's gonna be an interesting one.
And before I say goodbye, Kyle, tell us where you can find you.
Yep. So on Twitter @_Kyle_Quinn, and then of course on WIP every Monday through Friday with Joe and Hugh on the midday show. Does 94.1 on your dial there.
All right. Oh, before I let you go, one last question.
Yep.
So the Seattle Seahawks will get the honor of kicking off the season on that Thursday night game. The Patriots are on the Seahawks home schedule in 2026. Does the NFL do it?
I think it would be an interesting one because Seattle was just dominant last season, but I wonder if there's a little bit of a thought too. Drake May was injured, and Pats weren't necessarily ready, so they might want to test that one out early in the season. I would be intrigued to see that, and it's not one of those matchups where like you have to have that later in the year. Like it's Seattle, New England, so that'd be one I'd be interested to see to open.
If you were Mike Vrabel, would you fear that could be detrimental to your team to kind of go to Seattle, watch them get their rings, watch them raise that banner? Or do you think that's something that your young team probably needs to see?
No, I think, Vrabel strikes me as the kind of guy that would use that as sort of a motivation.
Yeah.
Like you're going to let them, he would probably play off that. You guys feel embarrassed about this? Like they're going to raise the banner right in front of your face and they beat you to do it. Like you're going to take that. So that's the kind of guy I feel like Mike Vrabel is.
I think the NFL should definitely explore that as a potential season opener. All right, Kyle, listen, we'll talk again in April. Maybe I'll have you back on throughout the winter. We'll talk Flyers hockey and some Phillies as
Sounds good, dude. All right,
man. Brother.
Appreciate
We'll talk later, man. Thank you, Kyle.
Yep.
All right, Kyle Quinn. That's it. Season 6 in the books. We are done. The Birds Blast is over. Oh, no. Again, on behalf of Kyle Quinn, I want to thank everybody for tuning in this year. It was a great season. We had fun. We'll continue to have fun next season into season 7. But here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network, make sure you check out all the stuff that we got coming up tonight and the rest of the weekend. I'll see you guys a little bit later on in the night. You guys have a great rest of your afternoon, and I am out of here.